Ah, Valentine's Day. You either love it or you hate it. It's the day where you get to spend some time with that special someone in your life. Or if you're single and just got rejected, you're getting blackout drunk and crying in the shower. In that same spirit, I wanted to take a look at gaming and relationships and see how they've evolved throughout the years. So come on over and kiss me on my hot mouth, cause we're getting romantical. Romantic relationships in gaming can be traced all the way back to the year 1985. Hell, even 1982 we've gotten to see some potential love interests out there. Back then, these were pretty much the prime motivation for the player to get to the end of the game. And back then I feel like that makes sense, because generally we needed a really strong hook to get past some of the worst and most difficult gameplay sequences of all time. But today, relationships in gaming are most prevalent in RPGs. It serves as a way for developers to offer more choices to the player, and sometimes even gives us the chance to see some big titties? The first game studio that comes to mind when it comes to relationships is BioWare. They became pretty infamous for allowing you to fornicate with different aliens in Mass Effect.
It's a new role-playing video game that is leaving nothing to the imagination. Mass Effect is what it's called. It's made for Microsoft's Xbox system, and it features in some parts of this, you'll see full digital nudity. Imagine.
Sex in video games is always a fun addition, but what was really cool and unique about these games is that each alien race had different ways that they can couple with you. This not only adds to the overall lore of the video game, but it also further immerses you into the world that they built. Unfortunately, when it comes to actually pursuing relationships in these games, your options are pretty limited. And by that I mean that you can only pursue certain people based on whether you play the game as a holy boy paragon or as a badass renegade motherfucker. The video game Catherine also follows a similar system, but it's a bit harder to tell what's the good/bad route, or in this case the developers labeled it as the freedom/order route. I like this way a bit more just because you're more likely to answer the questions how you would normally in real life, as opposed to always picking the nice option in Mass Effect just because you want to see what Liara's big blue bazongas look like. What's the first thing you think of when you hear farming simulator? For me, it's maybe harvesting some crops, maybe milking some cows, but primarily, it's about getting it on. In games like Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley, you can pursue your love interest by giving them their favorite gifts, which is certainly a cute way to implement relationships, but I feel like this could come off a bit desperate or even stalkery at times. For example, if you choose to pursue the goth or shy love interest of the town, they're usually the hardest to romance, so you have to study and learn their exact schedule and figure out their exact tastes when it comes to gifts, or you're at risk at being forever alone. Get out of the way, Lewis! I need to get this banana pudding to Abigail's stat, or she'll never accept me! From a real life perspective, it's totally fine to give your significant other a gift every once in a while. I would, however, be a little unnerved if they were giving me presents every single day, like, "No, Todd, I don't need another sunflower, thank you." The Witcher also became pretty famous for some of its steamy sex scenes. We could spend hours debating Yen versus Triss, but the one relationship that really hit home for me was Geralt and Keira Metz. By the way, if you haven't played the game, I am going to be discussing some minor spoilers here. It really threw me off guard because this is one of the first romantic relationships you can pursue in the game. So Geralt and Keira share a nice romantic evening together. They drink a little too much wine, talk about their feelings, and then before you know it, some hanky-panky happens. Everything seems nice and peachy until Keira ends up putting a sleeping spell on Geralt. You later find out that she used Geralt and intentionally did all of this just to catch him off guard. This side story alone was very impressive to me at the time, just because all other relationships in video games were pretty cut and dry for the most part. They all pretty much followed the same scenario where you flirt with someone, go on some dates, you do the nasty, and then that person is by your side for the rest of the game, no questions asked. Whereas this interaction felt like a real life scenario to me, especially if you've ever dabbled in dating apps, this thing happens all too often. When it comes to relationships in gaming, I have to mention Persona 5 again. Persona 5 not only gives you the option to become best buddies with all your party members, but you can also pursue relationships with those of the other sex. You can't pursue boys though. Even though I'm a member of the Church of a Y, aka Gun Daddy.
Hey, yo, yeah. The guns are gonna melt. It's so damn hot.
You still have dialogue options in order to pursue your romantic interest, but you also need to put in the proper amount of free time for your significant other. Ignore your homework and part-time job, because I'd rather be getting dissected by my favorite goth mommy. Again, I'm not saying this is the best system in the world, because once you max out your relationship with someone, that's pretty much it. You'll get special scenes for Christmas and Valentine's Day, but there really is no other incentive to hang out with them for the rest of the game. Imagine you're Anne. We go through some heartfelt moments together, we pour our hearts out to each other, we spend some alone time together, and then that's it. Nothing. I'm off to pursue my next confidant, which is Best Boy Ryuji. See you at Christmas! When in reality, if I was Anne, I'd be questioning all my life choices at this point. I'm hoping in the future video games address some of these issues, and that there's more options to do with your significant other besides, boning each other.
Yibs.
They are starting to innovate more when it comes to this. One more recent example is making you feel like a piece of poo if you end up cheating on anyone. Maybe in the future we'll see things like jealousy crop up, depending on which romantic partner you choose. Apparently Baldur's Gate 3 has some pretty interesting relationships that you can pursue. I've heard there's some stuff with a bear, but again, unfortunately I haven't had the time to play it yet. Either way, relationships in gaming aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and I think they'll only continue to develop even more as time goes on. I don't think I ever want them to be as advanced as the movie Her, but with the emergence of VR, we are kind of heading that way slowly but surely. Either way, whether you're alone or with that special someone on this Valentine's Day, I hope you enjoyed my TED Talk, and I'll see you on the next video essay.